I'm Victoria and I'm a full-time sex educator. In this video, I'm going to talk about how exactly I arrived at this career, as well as explore some different options for people that might be interested in this field. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm going to be making a lot more sex ed related content, as well as really focusing on mental and physical wellness. I'm a full-time sex educator, as well as a certified yoga instructor, and I will be starting my master's in social work. So if any of those things interest you, I hope you stick around. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about my path to becoming a sex ed teacher. I did not know that this is where I was going to end up. I was a journalism major in my undergrad, fully intent on pursuing a career in communications. But when I graduated, I applied to be a Peace Corps volunteer, and I was selected to be in education in West Africa. My post spent several months training us to be teachers, which I am very grateful for those skills, especially considering what I do now. But what I started off doing was teaching math and English in a rural high school. Now, sex ed was identified as a serious need in the community and in my school, which is true for any community and any school, if you ask me. And Peace Corps trained us to teach sex ed and gave us resources so that we could carry out that training within our communities and within our schools. Fast forward to last year, I had a job in communications for a company. Some would say a dream job, definitely Instagram worthy, but it really wasn't my dream job. I really wanted something that was focused in working in the community, providing something that I think is valuable, and not so much driven by numbers and money. I saw a job posting from a nonprofit for sex educators, and I was like, wow, I actually have experience doing that, and I loved doing that. I had the best time, definitely preferred it over teaching math and English. So let's go ahead and apply. I interviewed, as well as did a demo lesson on anatomy as part of the hiring process, and I got it. Then I spent a significant amount of my first 6 months or so onboarding and learning the material and getting trained a lot better than I was in the Peace Corps on how to provide comprehensive sex ed that is also inclusive, using gender inclusive language, taking into account the cultural implications and historical implications that marginalized communities have experienced. Not that we're perfect, but I very much appreciated that lens and perspective in this sex education training. I absolutely love my job. It is the best job I've ever had. It's not easy. It doesn't mean that I don't get frustrated by things, but I love what I do. I really have found my passion, and I'm super grateful. So I definitely didn't take a straight path here, but I'm curious if other people have experienced something similar. Did you have a career in mind and then now you're doing something completely different? Let us know in the comments kind of what that change was if you feel so inclined. One of the most common questions I get from people is, how did I get this job? What kind of education, licensure, certifications, requirements did I need in order to be qualified and hired for this position? These are really great questions. In the United States, there is no official licensure or certification that people need to become a sex educator. That's not to say that maybe there shouldn't be. I'm sure there's room for debate around that. But the experience that people get to teach other people around sexual health comes from a lot of different places. And people can have so many different jobs that revolve or include sex education in some way. I work for a nonprofit, so I don't work independently, although some people do. And my job is to go into schools primarily, but also organizations. I teach 5th grade all the way up to 12th grade. I also train teachers. I do parents and caregivers and adults with disabilities. There's a wide range of sexual health topics that we teach, from anatomy, birth control, STIs, healthy relationships, consent, sex and technology, so many different things. And we're always expanding that curriculum because sexual health has overlap with so many different areas of people's lives. Some people might have jobs that are very similar to mine. Other people might go into academics or research, whether that means being a professor of gender and sexuality studies, or maybe in the public health department. Some people might do research or write books around sexual and reproductive health. Other people are medical providers that are specifically focused on reproductive health. Think of like an OBGYN or a urologist. Sex and relationship therapists also play a role as sex educators. They can help their clients kind of understand more about sexual health as far as we know in the research, as well as providing that mental health and that support. This is actually what I'm hoping to do in the future and why I'm pursuing my master's in social work, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a bit. I also want to highlight the original sex educators, which are sex workers. There's a long history of sex work all over the world, and there's a variety of different education that they've provided over the years. There's so many different ways that sex ed can overlap with what people are already doing. This is something that I also really enjoy about this field. I work with a lot of different people and organizations because there's so much crossover. And that also means that you can find a role that really fits with your interests. Perhaps you have another area or passion that you think could kind of overlap or work within sex ed, or using aspects of sex ed in the work or other passion that you have. So that takes me back to that question people ask around training or certifications. Depending on what your goals are, that could help you figure out what kind of education or training that you need. I was really lucky in that the orgs that I've worked for provided that training for me. But here's the thing. Information around sexual health and wellness and mental health is always changing and evolving, especially as we get more research and evidence. So that means that we all have to be held accountable for seeking out new information and staying curious. And you can access that information in so many places. So whether that's on the internet, on various sexual health sites, or through books, other content creators online, workshops, or classes located in sex shops even sometimes, you can absolutely learn how to provide comprehensive, age-appropriate, medically accurate, culturally informative, and inclusive sex ed. You can also seek out training either online or near you. They're not all free, but depending on the organization, they might provide some financial aid. Remember how I said in the US there is no specific certification that you need to become a sex educator? That is true, but there are certifying bodies that exist that have a lot of great information for folks who are seeking out specific degrees or training. ASECT, the American Association of Sexuality Educators, Counselors, and Therapists, has probably the most comprehensive and well-known certification process. There are some programs that they recommend for those to achieve a degree and work towards certification, which include Widener University, Masters of Education in Human Sexuality Studies, University of Michigan's Sexual Health Certificate Program, which offers a sexuality ed track. The Institute for Sexuality Education and Enlightenment offer both a certification program and a lot of different one-off workshops. Options for Sexual Health has a certification program in line with ASECT, and I will link all of these below. But there are more. There's so many more, and hopefully more schools are developing programs and degrees that people can achieve if that's what they're interested in. If you know of one, please include it in the comments below, and we can help kind of gather more resources and information for folks. Or go to the ASECT website directly and look up all of these different programs. I am starting a master's in social work very, very soon with hopes of getting a certificate in clinical behavioral health. I want to be able to provide sexual education as well as therapy within the same scope. I'm going to keep sharing along this journey as I pursue my master's and continue being a full-time sex ed teacher. Please follow my Instagram and check out my blog and my website linked down below, where I'm going to be posting a lot more sexual health and sex ed related content, and I don't want you to miss out. Also, if you like and subscribe, that really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, and it also really motivates me to keep making content. Thanks so much for watching.